Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we'll be talking about the first season of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Fun fact, this season is based on George R.R. Martin's novella, The Hedge Knight, the first in a series of three novellas known as The Tales of Dunk and Egg or A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. This show came out in 2026 and stars Peter Claffey, Dexter Ansel, and Daniel Ings, and was created by Ira Parker and George R.R. Martin. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, or as I usually call it, Dunk and Egg, follows a hedge knight who plans to enter a tournament to win money and glory. A simple dream becomes more complicated when he gets a squire and comes across a familiar family that is just a little bit obsessed with dragons. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is a medieval action comedy. It has similar vibes to Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, or The Witcher. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms caught my eye because I love a Westeros story that further dives into the lore. Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon are both very serious, while this show is very comedic, but then mixes in some action and drama to remind the viewer that we are in fact still in Westeros. One of my favorite comedic moments was early on when the guy in the stable asked Dunk, "Are you Baelor Targaryen?" And Dunk, of course, says no. And the guy responds, "Then will you move the F out of the way?" It's a shorter story with 30-minute episodes, but it did so well telling this story of Dunk and Egg and this birthday party that turned into a trial. Dunk is played by Peter Claffey, who is known for being tall. He's kind of awkward but has nothing to lose, so he tries putting his life on the line to become a valued knight. He was a squire to Sir Arlen, and he tries to see if anyone remembers him, but not many people do, except for Prince Baelor, who lets him join in on the tournament. I love how he took Egg in and really was just trying to do what's right, which got him into a whole mess and added to this trial. After Egg announced himself, he was mean to him because Egg lied to him and he was right to be a little upset, but I was also like, don't be too mean to Egg. I love seeing him getting his own shield with a sigil from the girl he had a crush on and later seeing him have to use it. In the trial, he was getting sliced up by Arian, and it had me nervous, but he prevailed. He may not be an amazing knight, but what he lacks in skill, he makes up for it with brute force. Danny Webb plays Sir Arlen, who taught Dunk all he knows about being a knight and told him so many stories, and Dunk really learned from him. At first, I didn't really understand why he looked up to him, but as the show went on, I realized that through the ups and downs, he shaped who Dunk was. His teaching wasn't conventional, but he imparted important lessons that taught Dunk how to be a respectable knight, not one who would go out of his way to abuse his power. I loved it at the end of the season where we see him walking with Dunk and Egg on the horse, and then we see his horse depart, which signals that he's done all that he can do for Dunk, and it is time now for Dunk to chart his own path with his squire. Dexter Ansel plays Egg, aka Aegon the Fifth Targaryen, who shaved off all his hair to hide or to become a Sith Lord. I haven't appreciated a bald character this much since I was introduced to Aang in Avatar: The Last Airbender. I love how he questioned everything Dunk did, and I think sometimes when kids do that, it's very annoying, but it's funny here because he really knows better because of his formal upbringing. It's funny that Dunk never realized he may be hiding something by the way that he talked so properly and his knowledge of just random things. His reveal as a Targaryen was shocking in the show, even though I had figured it out before, but I thought that they did a great job of hiding it. I loved how he hated his brother Arian so much and was rooting for his death. He was Dunk's number one supporter, and it was sweet to see how he looked up to Dunk because even though Dunk was raised poor, he respected his values and treated him as a squire, not a prince. Lionel Baratheon, played by Daniel Ings, gets introduced early on, and if you watch any Game of Thrones stuff, you know that last name in the sigil is a stag. He pays homage to his house by having this stag horn crown, which is just so dope to see, and I wanted it. He seemed like one of the funnest people to be around and just enjoyed life. I love how when it came to the trial of seven, he was mainly interested because he'd never experienced one before. I feel like he had more faith in Dunk sometimes than Dunk did in himself. The other Targaryens, of course, are messy. Prince Baelor was a favorite of mine. He would have made a great king if not killed by his brother. He didn't let familial ties tell him what was right and what was wrong. He knew how Arryn was and that Dunk wasn't guilty. Sadly, he died at the hands of his brother. Baelor's son is Valar, whom we don't hear much from, but is sad about his dad when we do hear him talk a little bit more. He seems like a nice guy, but is visibly angry after his dad dies and doesn't know who to blame, which should be his dumb cousin, not Dunk. Baylor's brother, Meeker, is just exhausted and disappointed with his kids. One child is a psychopath, one is a drunk, and one decides to run away. He finally gets all his kids back together, and then Arion invokes a trial of seven, which forces him to fight and eventually kill his brother, which he isn't happy about. Arian is just a menace and likes torturing people and treating people like they are beneath him, but he doesn't have the backing of his family, so they see him more, as an irritation more than anything else. He comes off as a typical rich boy who hasn't had any hardships and just does things because he thinks it will be fun no matter who may get hurt. He's a cheat and not well liked, and while he may have training to be a knight, he's like half the size of Dunk. So he is lucky Dunk did not kill him and got him to surrender. Then you have Darren, who is a dreamer. You know, he dreams a lot, but his dreams become a reality. He's an alcoholic due to these dreams and seems to want to be left alone, which isn't really working. I love how when he discusses the trial with Dunk, he says, I'm just going to sit this one out and fake it, get me in like a couple of hits, and then I'm just going to pretend that I'm knocked out. That whole family is just a mess of whiteheads. The Fossilways are shown, and I had never known about this house, but it was cool to see a house that ended up splitting. Sir Stephen is a knight that we meet at the beginning of the season, and he's so mean to his cousin and Squire Raymond, which pissed me off. He was really ready to back Duncan in the trial, and he made it seem like we were just ready to go. And then at the last minute, he backs Arian because he has no honor. His cousin Raymond is a nice guy and Dunk's friend, and he really hates his cousin and the Targaryens. After Stephen backs out, he really steps up and asks to be made a knight so that he can support Dunk. He was a great friend and a little impulsive, but I'm glad he survived and didn't back down from dealing with his cousin, who was an awful person. I love the inclusion of people who have the sight and can see into the future. In episode 3, we meet a fortune teller who says that Dunk will be richer than a Lannister, and Egg will be king and die in hot fire, and worms will feed on his ashes, and people will rejoice. It doesn't seem to be a one-off, but something that might come true by the way that the lady looks so serious. Darren has a dream that becomes nightmares, and it seems like one he has might be something that speaks of a similar fate. It's something I don't think a lot of people will remember, but I do think it may be important in the future, and I'm interested to see if this actually comes true. The outfits, of course, never fail to impress in this universe. Dunk looks bland and dull for most of the show, mostly wearing grays and grayish hues. The women performing all had different colors on and spiced up their outfits a bit more. The King's Guard are knights, but their outfits always look so clean, like they either have been in battle or just got a fresh set of clothes. The real treat is seeing people in their house regalia, especially when going into battle. I think House Targaryen always is the coolest because I like dragons and red and black just go so well together. But the Baratheons may have also proven, not to count them out with the cool stag helmet that they have, when they're ready for battle and crown that they have that is also has a stag like antlers. Even the Fossway armor that Stefan wore with the gold apples was pretty cool, even though I hated him. While these look cool and pretty, it does show the class difference as well, because the lower born common folks don't have as much flair in their outfits like these richer heads of house or lords or princes do. My favorite part of this season was episode 5, which not only shows the trial, but Dunk's backstory. It starts by throwing us into the trial, and I was shook 5 minutes in. I must point out this cool camera shot that took us from third person watching Dunk from behind and moved into first person, which was interesting to see what the crowd would be seeing and how cool it may look to what Dunk sees, which is just scary. Arian cuts him, and then it flashes back to his childhood. He hangs with a girl, Rafe, and they steal and survive, often running into some guards. When Rafe steals a knife from one of the guards, I thought that she would kill him, but he slits her neck, which was horrifying and shocking. They stab Dunk in the leg and go to kill him, and a drunken Sir Arlen comes out, and we truly see why Dunk admires him. He is wasted and still manages to slice the first man's head off, and then, with a little more effort, kill the second. Up until this moment, I didn't understand why he looked up to him, but Sir Arlen may be a drunk, but he wasn't abusive to the people he swore to protect and wouldn't let innocent lives be harmed if he could stop it. Dunk follows him until he takes him in. Back in the battle, Arian is slicing and dicing, and it is not looking good, but Dunk has one thing over him, his size. Dunk overpowers him, beats him up, and my favorite part is dragging him through the mud to say that he renounces his claim. It was a crazy battle, but it had my interest. In the end, we think we are all in the clear, and Dunk is talking to Prince Baelor, and he says his hands are going numb, and he takes off his helmet, and a chunk of his head was missing, which was knocked out by his brother. I knew it was coming, but it was sad to see it because he would have been such a great king. It goes to show that sometimes winning isn't really winning. Overall, the episode was great and was a highlight for me of this season. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is a great addition to the world of Westeros that George R. R. Martin created. It is funny but brings in the action and a great new bunch of characters to either love or hate. Thank you for watching my video. I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, please do so you can keep up to date with more of my videos. Besides that, everyone stay safe, have fun, and goodbye.